Welcome to the Bag Maker's Workroom. I'm Chris with Simply Classic, and today is Thursday, February 6th, 2025. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for the Bag Maker's Workroom. We are always excited to be here, and tonight is no different. Our episode tonight is about hardware essentials, and we're going to look at some unique ways to use hardware. So we are here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We appreciate you joining us live. We know y'all are busy, and it really is nice that you take a few minutes out of your day to spend some time with us. We really appreciate it. If you can't join live, no worries. You can watch our replay anytime on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified of future videos and live streams. Later on the live stream, we are going to draw the winners of our Beat the Winter Blues giveaway. So stay tuned for that. And if you are not sure what that was, you might have been entered and didn't even know it. So all week we have had a sale going on, Beat the Winter Blues sale. And if you ordered $50 or more in a single order, you were automatically entered to win one time. Okay, so basically in this little thing we have here, your name's in here. If you ordered $100 or more in a single order, your name's in here twice. And if you ordered $150 or more, your name's in here 3 times. Okay, so we have lots of people in here that we're going to draw, and you don't have to be present to win. What we're going to do is pack it up, send you an email, say, hey, your gift basket's on the way. And we've been adding to it all week. We've been adding all kinds of stuff. So it's really a great value, and we really appreciate all of you that ordered this week. And before we get started, I do want to give a shout out to Robin. Robin and I met at a show, gosh, it's been probably a couple years ago now. And she's actually a tester. She's on the live stream often, and she is just super amazing. She really is a great person. And she mailed something to me, and I'm going to show this to you in the overhead, but it's a book, and it's all about the history of Chanel bags. So we're going to go to the overhead, and I just want to show you a little bit about the book. It is the history of Chanel bags. It's the story of it. The author is Layla Theron Graves. And in this little book, it has a bunch of photos that we could certainly use as inspiration. It's the whole story about the history of Chanel bags. It's got lots of photos. And let me tell you, Chanel is like one of my bag heroes. Okay, we're going to talk about Chanel next week. So the timing is perfect as far as Robin sending me this book. But she was a woman in a man's world, and she did whatever she wanted to do. She did some really crazy things that like personally in her personal life that kind of this is her right here, that kind of got her kicked out of her own country. We'll go over all that next week. I don't want to give too many things away, but she was really an amazing woman. So I just want to thank Robin for sending me this book. If you'd like to grab a copy, again, it is called The Story of the Chanel Bag. It is by Layla Theron Graves. Okay, so thank you, Robin. We appreciate you so much. So we are going to move on to the Simply Classic Scoop. And of course, in the Simply Classic Scoop, we tell you about all kinds of things going on. One of the things that I want to mention is, before we get into the events that we're going to be at, is I've been working hard to get some new things happening behind the scenes. We're obviously working on the second class, leather class. It'll be an online class like the other one was. It's going to be a totally different kind of bag, okay? Totally different way, just all different. So I've been working hard on that. And also another leather bag that you'll hopefully hear about sometime next month. It's going to be kind of a new thing we're putting together. So we are really excited about that. Stay tuned for it. And hopefully we'll get these things done and get them to you sooner than later. So before you know it, we're going to be in Chattanooga, and that is coming up super quick. We're going to be there Saturday, March 1st, we're going to be there Friday and Saturday. Friday's the 28th, and Saturday's the 1st. On Friday, we'll be teaching the Simply Classic Clutch, and on Saturday, we'll be teaching the Bircham. If you're going, I encourage you to take both classes while you're there. It's really a great weekend. We have a great time. The folks at Chattanooga Sewing are amazing. They just moved into a new building. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see their new sewing space, and we're excited. We can't wait to get there. The other thing that I'd like to tell you about is the Sacramento Bag and Sew Expo, and it is September 12th through the 14th in Sacramento, California. And we're excited about this one because we don't get out to the West Coast very often. We tend to, since we're in Georgia, it's kind of hard for us to get out there sometimes. But I'll be teaching 3 classes. The Julie will be Friday, September 12th from 9 to 1. Simply Classic Clutch is going to be on Saturday, September 13th from 9 to 1. And that is going to be with Italian leather. And then the Sorella will be Sunday, September 14th from 1 to 5. And let me tell you, the Julie and the Sorella classes are pretty close to being sold out. There's still seats available last time I checked, but if you are interested in either of these classes, you need to go ahead and sign up as soon as you can. The way that it works is you are going to pay the expo for your class. And so you pay, I think it's $60 a class. We are going to receive an email that has our list of students taking the class. And then you're going to be hearing from us to actually collect your class kit. So you'll be paying us directly. So just so that there's no confusion there, if once you pay the $60 to take the class, you're going to, I think we're getting our email list mid-March. At that point, you'll receive an email from us for your class kit. And all the class kits I will be bringing with me to the expo. I will not mail them ahead of time. I just want to make sure we have everything we need and nobody forgets anything. And they are going to be pre-cut and ready to go, pre-interfaced, all that kind of good stuff. So get in while you can. Go ahead and sign up. Okay, so last week we talked about the new pattern, which is called the Lusso. And in today's live stream, it's all about hardware, and the Lusso has some pretty cool hardware. So we are going to switch to the overhead, and I want to show you a couple of things. Of course, we talked about this some last week, but I want to remind you that the Lusso has 2 buckles, one on each side, and this is how you adjust your strap, okay? You can make as many or as few holes as you want here and make the strap adjustable. The other thing is that we have rivets here on the handle connectors. And actually, I say rivets. We use Chicago screws. And I'm going to show you the difference between rivets and Chicago screws in just a minute, in case you don't know. And it is really not for any purpose except for to be a decorative element. So you can use, get creative here. You can use, they've got like stud ones. They've got some that are colored. They have some with diamonds, all kinds of, well, probably not real diamonds, but you get the point. So get creative here and put as many or as few as you want. You don't have to put 3. You can put 1. You can put 5. You can do whatever you want there. So we're going to take a look at some of our tester photos right now because I want to show you what they did with it. They did amazing things. So this here is Barb, and Barb her company is called Nonalicious Creations, and she made this Lusso. This faux leather, this vinyl is amazing. It's got gold accents in it, and you can see it's purple, it's blue, it's got some black in it. I love the handle that she did it with a pop of color, the purple. She used some strap ends on her handle, which is gorgeous, and the gold hardware along with the faux that she used is just amazing. She really did a great job. Carol made this, and this is a fun version of the Lusso. She used the skull vinyl and she used waterproof canvas on the inside. I love the way that she used a different color on her strap connector or her handle and her handle connectors. And you can see that she also used some strap ends on the very bottom of her handle. So she did a great job. And then Janet is from J Couture Leatherworks, and this is her Lusso. She actually made 2 of them. This one is out of the Jungle that we have. It's called Jungle. It's a green, obviously, color. The color is called Jungle, but it really is a beautiful color, and I always love the linings she used. She really does well with the linings and matching them up. And then in addition, she made this really beautiful blue one. And you can see here, it is a hobo style bag. You can see how it kind of slouches in the middle. Stabilizer's put in there a certain way to make sure it does slouch. And it's really a great bag. So I want to show you the difference between Chicago screws and rivets. And this is, if you're not sure about this, so you don't know, a lot of you probably do know, but basically a rivet, I've got my little container here, is let me take this apart. It is a piece of hardware that has a post on one side. Okay, I'm trying to move this up here. And then it has a cap on the other. Now, the rivets that I use are called double cap rivets. And what that means is they're finished on both sides. So what you would do is punch a hole in your project. You put the post through, put the cap on, and then you can set this in one of 2 ways. The first way is with a rivet press. And then the second way would be with a hand setter, which is basically a mallet, and it's got a metal piece that you put the rivet on top of. It has a shank that you put on top. You hit it a couple times and it sets your rivet. Okay, rivets come in all different sizes. This is a fairly large one. I think this is either 12 millimeter or 10 millimeter. I think it's 12. And that's a rivet. Now the Chicago screw is a little bit different. It does not need any kind of machine to set. Okay, so here's a Chicago screw. You can see that this is just a smaller shank one. I think this is 1/4 of an inch. It has a screw back. You can see it's a flathead screwdriver. And basically what it is you have 2 pieces. One is basically looks like a big screw head. Okay, you've got the screw piece on that side. You've got the threads on the other. And you just literally punch a hole, put this through, and you screw this together. Okay, tighten it. We always suggest you use Loctite whenever using Chicago screws, just to make sure they stick together and they don't fall apart. This particular Chicago screw, they come in different colors and different shank sizes and different styles. This one, you can see, has a hole in the middle of it, and it allows the back of the screw to show through that hole. It's just a really cute accent. It's just a different, instead of being solid, it's just something a little bit different. So we really recommend Chicago screws in the Lusso because of the fact that when you go to set this last one here, it's hard to get all the way in there to set it. So the Chicago screws are really the best choice for this. And again, use as many or as little as you want there. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our featured product. And our featured product, we're going to specifically talk about our scroll or our conchos, because conchos are really a great way to bling your bag up a little bit, right? And just to kind of add a little something extra. Maybe they're functional, maybe they're not, but it's just a really good option. So we're going to go back to the overhead, and I'm going to slide this over and show you all the different conchos that we have. So these scroll, we call them the scroll conchos. I designed these, and the reason why is because I wanted a nice big concho for the front of the alley B, and I couldn't find anything large enough. You can see size-wise how much smaller these are. These scroll conchos are 1.5 by 1.5, and you can either set them in a diamond pattern like this, or you can set them in a square pattern. It's your choice, however you prefer to see it. Okay, choice is yours. You can see here that they come in 2 different metal colors. One is a brushed nickel. The other one is a brushed bronze. And the bronze has a black or a white stone in the middle. The nickel has either black, white, or turquoise. The other thing we have are these round. Oh, one other thing about these is that they have 2 screw holes in the back. So it really keeps it secure. It doesn't twist on you, because if you set it in one direction and you only had one screw, it could easily move, right? So it keeps it nice and secure. These come with 2 different screw sizes when you buy them. And it just helps, depending on how thick your material is, you can use, either set, whatever works best for you. Okay, next thing we have are these round conchos, and the round conchos come in brushed nickel or brushed bronze. They have 1 screw on the back, you can see here, and they measure, I believe, 1 1/4 round. Okay. The last thing I want to show you are these here, and this is a oval concho. We only have, these are being discontinued. So if you are interested in these, you want to go ahead and grab them. Go to our clearance section on our website and you'll find them. The only 2 colors that we have left for stones is the turquoise and the red. And the only metal color we have is this bronze. Okay. But they do set, same thing, with a screw in the back. And again, we'll just add some bling to your bag. Okay, so we're going to talk about perfect pairings. And in perfect pairings, we're going to base it around our conchos. So I'm going to move these out of the way for just a second. And we're going to look at this bag. Now, this is a bag that you have seen briefly from me before. It is a clutch pattern that a lot of you have been asking me, please write a pattern for this, which I will. It's, time is crazy. But it's a pretty simple bag. It's a clutch that you could certainly use for wedding, wedding season is coming up, and it's really beautiful. This is a lizard white leather that we have. And to add the concho there just gives it a little something, right? It just adds a little bit of bling. In addition, I use the the nickel here, but you could certainly use the bronze and the white, and that is really beautiful as well. And if you do that, I would obviously use a bronze zipper instead of nickel. So our first perfect pairing is going to be this lizard white actual leather. Okay. We suggest the rosewood lining from Tilda, this cotton lining. Of course, we suggest the scroll concho, and then white thread in either Tex 45 or Tex 70. We have it in both sizes. Okay. We think that would make an unbelievable bag, no matter what bag you make. Okay, we're going to do one more perfect pairing with faux leather. And this perfect pairing is going to be with this aged gray. Now, I love this aged gray. We have a couple of different colors of this age. I think we actually have 4 or 5. But it really looks like leather. It just the way it's aged. We didn't know what else to call it but aged. It's just so pretty. We think that this turquoise and brushed nickel concho goes amazing with it. What I would do is pull out the color from this turquoise and use the Tilda lining. This is seam stripe in teal. And then we would use, this is the midnight gray, either Tex 70 or Tex 45 thread, depending on which kind of machine you have, okay? And we think this would be an amazing pairing. All right, so we are going to move on to Sharpen Your Skills. And in Sharpen Your Skills, we want to talk about and look at different ways that we can use hardware. Maybe not how they're typically used, okay? We want to use it in different ways. We're going to demonstrate something on how to do it in a specific thing. We'll show you in just a second. But in the meantime, we first want to look at some inspiration, because obviously that's our favorite, right? That's where we get our ideas. So this bag here is using either rivets or Chicago screws, one of the two. It's probably rivets. And obviously these are really beefy rivets, really beautiful. And what they did is they used it along the top of the bag and down the side of the bag. Now, this is not holding the bag together per se. It is just purely for decorative purposes, and it adds a lot of bling to the bag. Really sharpens up. Here we see rivets used in a different way. So the bag on the left is Hobo International, and the bag on the right is a Patricia Nash bag. Now, that Hobo International, they just created a design with rivets, and what a neat way to use rivets. So if you can draw, which I'm not very good at that, but if you can do that, you can easily create some kind of design, maybe use different kinds of rivets. Maybe you start with a concho in the center, like you can see here. This is very similar to one of our scroll conchos, and then they kind of started there and then went around it. They did a circle of rivets and then added some other things to it. So that would be a great place to start. And then, of course, the Patricia Nash bag is just using them along the top. So if we look at some ways to use grommets, this was really interesting to me. This is a Hush Puppies bag, and my guess is that it is unlined. And the reason why I say that is because of the way they have the strap threaded through. If you look really closely, you can see that the hole on the strap is actually a hole for a Sam Browne button. And that is the kind of like a Chicago screw looking thing, but it's got a shank on it with a button. You put the button part through the hole, and you can see that hole has a tiny slit on the top, and that allows the button to get through. So my guess is that what we see there that we think is a rivet is probably a Sam Browne button turned opposite, where the button part is on the inside. And what they're doing is threading this through the grommet, attaching the Sam Browne button to hold it in place, and then sending it out the other side of the second grommet. The opposite side of this handle is attached, it's stationary. There's no grommets on that side, so it's just one side. And then here's another way to use grommets. This is the Bandito bag, and what they did here was just add a bunch of grommets and then use some leather to thread through them to kind of create this cool design. It's got a lot of grommets on there. I mean, it's just a different kind of bag, and it's really a neat way to use them. And as a lot of you probably already know, we have some amazing grommets. All you have to do is punch a 1/2-inch hole, put the grommet in, hit it a couple times with a mallet, and voila, it's in. There's no screws. They're super easy to set. So this would be some good ways to use those. Here's an example of something similar that I did a very long time ago. This is a hack video I did back in 2020, I think. And we did the Sassy Saddlebag by Mrs. H and put grommets down the front and then just put this lace through it to create this cool design down the front of the flap. So if you're interested in seeing how to do that, go ahead and take a look at that video and it will show you how to do it. All right, let's look at some different ways to use some swivel clasps. And this here is a way to use it as a closure. So usually we see swivel clasps on the end of straps. And here they're using it on a flap. So the Dooney & Bourke bag that you see on the left in the red, it just has a tiny little, or both of these just really have a tiny little flap. And in both instances, we're seeing that swivel clasp and a small D-ring to actually close it. If you remember this Gucci bag we looked at a couple weeks ago, this was the Jackie bag. And let's look at a way to use some rings. So these are O-rings, and you can see here what they did was, and this is probably a spring gate O-ring or some kind of O-ring that there's some of them that you can actually take little screws out and then take out the section, thread it through, and then replace the screws. It's probably something like that. But in this bag, you can see what they did is they attached the O-rings and then they put a grommet on the handle and then put the O-ring through the grommet. Okay, so there's a lot there, but it's really a beautiful looking handle. And then this is another way to use an O-ring. This is a Harley Davidson bag, believe it or not. It's orange, obviously, but I've never seen anything like it. But there is some orange in the Harley Davidson logo. But you can see the strap is metal and it's kind of masculine in a way, but then they added this O-ring, which is curvy and kind of gives it a feminine feel. So again, just another way to use an O-ring. This was really beautiful. And this is a small company called Garnish Apparel. And This is obviously a larger O-ring, but you can either clip the O-ring to the clutch and use it as a decorative accent, or you can almost wear it like a bracelet and have the bag off your wrist. So it's like a wristlet, but it's a different kind of wristlet. They're a designer brand in Portland, and it's just really really pretty. I just really love this. And a lot of people don't like snake, but this is really a great way to use snake. It's very neutral, and it's really a very classy bag. Okay, this is a Latigo bag. It is Latigo leather. It is made from cowhide, and it has been combination tanned. Now, what that means is that it was chrome tanned first, and then it was veg tanned. And look at the leather and how kind of wild it looks. It's really interesting. I actually found this bag a long time ago and just really loved the way they used the O-ring. The flap is basically tucked behind it, so it's like a flap keeper, but it is a flap keeper, but it's using an O-ring, right? It's just really interesting. So we are going to do a demo today, and we're going to kind of replicate this in kind of quick manner. We're going to go to the overhead, and I'm going to show you, we have like just a little mini thing here. So here is, let's pretend this is the front of a bag, okay, a little mini bag. We want to make the O-ring here in the middle, and then let's say this is our flap, and we're going to want the flap to go in behind this O-ring. So I cut 3 pieces of black leather just to kind of give it a contrast. And what I would do is to, first of all, go ahead and punch a hole. Let me grab my hole punch. And punch a hole in the end. And let me turn this. And obviously you can punch holes in many different ways. And I'm just going to punch a hole in the end of each one of these. Okay. The next thing I would do is to go ahead and wrap this around and mark the hole on the other side. Obviously, we don't want too much of this showing here on the back. Obviously, this will be the back, but we don't necessarily need a lot of it. I'm just going to punch through this hole to the other side. Okay. Then we're going to use a rivet. We're going to go ahead and rivet this in place. So I'm going to put the rivet in. Put the cap on. Oops. These are really small rivets. I have a rivet press here. I'll go ahead and set that rivet. Okay, and there's one set. So let's go ahead and do the same thing on these other 2 pieces. So I'm going to punch a hole, put the rivet. And if you've never used rivets before, you can kind of see how they work. This is the hand press that I have, and I'm just going to punch that, and then we have one more. And you can really do this on any bag with a flap. Obviously, it does give it kind of a Western maybe vibe, but maybe not. Obviously, you can use all different kinds of colors and rivets or whatever you may want to bling it up. So we'll go ahead and press that in. Okay. So from here, what you want to do is, now in the example that we saw, the inspiration, they had 3 of these, right? But if you have a bigger ring, you could put more than 3. You don't have to just use 3. You could use 4, you could use 5. Typically, things look better in odd numbers. So I think that's the reason why they use 3. And basically what they did is they just went ahead and sewed this to the sides and to the bottom, okay? Now, one thing I would caution you on, I'm going to grab a couple of Wonder Clips, but one thing I would caution you on is make sure that you leave some space here for the flap to actually slide in. You don't want this so tight to the bag And especially once you fill it, the bag is going to puff out some, and you don't want to not be able to get your flap in. So I would stitch this in place, and don't bring these all the way to the top. The other thing I would do is make sure you have enough space here, because typically you're going to have an upper lining, you're going to maybe have some piping, and you just want to make sure you don't bring these all the way to the top corners. Okay, you do want that spread out. And then you would, of course, attach your flap, and then as you flap your flap over, all you would do is slide your flap in, and then you have a really cool looking O-ring to hold your flap down. Okay, so really not a difficult thing to do. We just need to think about unique ways to use hardware, maybe something other than their intended purpose. Okay, so today's Thursday thread, we are going to talk about the history of Fendi. And every week on the Thursday thread, as you know, we share sewing stories. Sometimes it's a story about me. Sometimes it's a story sent in by one of you. But lately we've been talking about bag making history, and we're going to continue that this week. But before we get started, I want to tell you that, remind you that last week we talked about Hermes. And I wanted to share an email that we got from Rock Leatherworks. So we're going to put the slide up. He made a replica of the Hermes Kelly bag that we saw last week. And how incredible is this? He actually won an award for it. This bag was completely hand stitched, and it took him over 60 hours to complete it. He wrote in that this is a replica of the Kelly bag named after the Princess of Monaco, Grace Kelly, in 1977. This is my version of the same bag that I named Lisa's bag. She's from New Brunswick, and I wanted a bag that would reflect her beauty and be stylish. The same bag from Hermes became one of the most sought after styles in the world, and he crafted his from cow leather and gave it that embossed crocodile look and used gold tone hardware. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Rock for this, because this is amazing. Rock, you did a fantastic job, and it is just too beautiful to not share. When we opened the email, we were like, wow, this is really gorgeous. So Rock, you rock. All right, I'm sure you've never heard that before, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about the history of Fendi. And, you know, Fendi is... let's talk about how they start. It's obviously, they're very recognizable. Their hardware is very recognizable. We talk about how and why that came about. But we're going to start with the House of Fendi. And it was founded by Adele and Edoardo Fendi in Rome, Italy in 1925. And they were married, okay? So 1925, here we are. They are literally, Fendi is 100 years old this year. So happy birthday, Fendi. So since the beginning, Fendi has sold fur and leather goods, and that's still what they're known for today. The first Fendi logo was actually a squirrel, and you can see it here. The story goes that Adele was always darting around like a little busy squirrel, and Edoardo gave her a painting of a squirrel as a gift. And here is the original Fendi logo with the squirrel. She liked it so much that she turned it into their logo. And I have to kind of confess that we had fun looking at this picture of this squirrel when we first saw it earlier. We thought it was interesting. He was wearing clothes, and that he had a really kind of narrow, then super bushy tail. And he was just cute. He's a cute little squirrel. Also, on the left-hand side, we are showing a picture here of the first Fendi boutique that opened up in Rome. So here we can see two Fendi handbags, one from the 30s and one from the 40s. And the one on the left is velvet, and it came with a leather coin purse. The one on the right is made of leather, and I believe this is real ostrich leather. So all of the fashion houses that we've talked to up to this point were started by men. And it's really interesting to see that Fendi was started by a married couple at the time. But obviously, that was much less common. The Fendis had 5 daughters, who you can see here, and they took over the family business in 1940. Their names were Anna, Carla, Franca, Alda, and Paola. And again, most of the designers pass their companies down to their sons, or if they didn't have sons, they give it to their son-in-laws and instead of their daughters. But Fendi did just the opposite, which I think is really cool. So in the 1965, Fendi sisters hired Karl Lagerfeld as a designer, and he began growing their business internationally. Lagerfeld was very influential in Fendi, and he continued working with them up until his death in 2019. So Mr. Lagerfeld was the one who designed the Fendi logo, which we can see here. It has an F and an inverted F that come together to form this negative space in the middle. They actually call this logo the zucca, which is Italian for pumpkin, but it's also used in slang phrase that means someone is being clever. So Fendi uses this logo design on their hardware, and this piece of hardware shows up on a lot of different Fendi bags. I love this. I think it's really classy. And then they also use the repeating logo on a lot of their bags. I don't necessarily know that I like it on the bag as much. I just really love the hardware. So something that might surprise you, and it did me, is that the F's in the logo don't stand for Fendi. They stand for Fun Fur, because this design was originally used on the lining of Fendi's fur coats. So FF, Fun Fur, not Fendi. So this bag, we had to go and look for a squirrel bag because since squirrels were such a big part of their history with what Miss Adele liked, we went on the hunt and we actually found that this is a squirrel fur bag. I mean, it's really interesting. So they were very unique and they were very innovative with their use of materials. Karl Lagerfeld did a lot of unique dyeing and shaving and patchwork during his time. So, this is an example of one of the things he did, which is a great callback to Fendi's original logo. In the 1960s and 70s, Fendi expanded their collection to include some cosmetics and ready-to-wear apparel, but leather was still what they were known for. And let's face it, they're from Italy, right? So that is superly expected. I wouldn't expect anything less. And even by the 90s, about half their revenue still came from leather goods. So Silvia Venturini Fendi, who was the granddaughter of the founders, joined the company in the 90s. And in 1997, she designed the baguette bag, and you can see it here. It sold over 100,000 units in the first year. And we've talked about this baguette bag before because it made such an impact on handbag designs around the turn of the century. And of course, we can see some examples of it here. All different materials, all different stuff. You can see the Fendi logo on that buckle. And of course, depending on what material you use, changes the look of the bag. So the baguette was carried on every red carpet by all kinds of celebrities, and it even got more popular when it was featured on the Sex and the City episode. And we've showed this slide to you before. This is a famous scene where Carrie gets mugged, and the man tells her to hand over her handbag, and she does, but first she corrects him and says, "It's a baguette." So this is the slide from that famous scene. So Sylvia Fendi also designed another popular bag, and it was called the Peekaboo bag. And here's a photo of it here. So the Peekaboo came out in 2009, and at first glance, it looks like a very classic bag, but it has a feature that makes it unique. It has a double closure, like one on the front and one on the back. And so it can be carried kind of halfway open, which you see here, and that's why it's called a Peekaboo. So it's definitely a different design. So Sylvia Fendi passed away a couple of years ago, and Karl Lagerfeld died in 2019. And after that, a British designer named Kim Jones became the new artistic director. He left the company a few months ago and haven't replaced him. So we'll have to wait and see where Fendi goes from here. Okay. So next we're going to talk about Artistry Avenue. This is one of my favorite parts because we get to feature you, our artists. Every week we show 3 bags that caught our eye. You can either post them in the Simply Classic bag making community on Facebook, or you can email them to share@simplyclassic.net if you don't know how to use Facebook or you don't want to post on Facebook. All of our artists featured will win a PDF pattern of your choice. They're open worldwide. Once we feature your bag, you have 30 days to email share@simplyclassic.net to let us know what pattern you'd like. And once you do, we'll get it up to you. So since our theme this week is about hardware, we chose three bags with some interesting hardware. So let's take a look. So here, Linda made the Sienna. I love that she did something different, made it her own. She added a zipper placket. You can see there. She did a great job with that. She has a half moon snap on the end of her flap. And then the best part is she has this fabulous gold jewel tortoise on the flap. So, I mean, that is just gorgeous, beautiful. You did a great job. Love it, Linda. Here, Bespoke Handcrafted made a Sienna, and look at how she used a ring, okay, in a flap. I just love that. I love that she did something different. And, you know, the ring is great because obviously it gives interest to the bag. She looks like she attached it. She put a little rivet there to kind of hold it in place. And basically what she did is she used a snap closure with the ring that she borrowed from another pattern, and she paired it with the Sienna, and then she made a matching zipper pouch and key ring. And so this is a great set. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love how you took and mixed and matched patterns. I mean, that's a great way to hack a pattern. Take something from this pattern you like, something from that pattern you like, and put them together. And then Diane made the Sorella, and she used this webbing as strap. She used a turn lock closure, which is really unique and beautiful. I love that turn lock. And then she used an Eiffel Tower zipper pull, and it pairs perfectly for her upcoming trip to Paris. So we hope you have safe travels, Diane. You're going to love this bag in Paris. I actually made my original one for my trip to Italy, and it worked great. You wear it underneath your coat. Nobody even knew you had it. And the other thing I want to point out on this is how she paired the color of the flap with her webbing. Okay, so you can see the colors there, the kind of turquoise color and looks like navy, and those are some colors she just pulled out of the flap to create a matching set. I mean, it's just beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. So congratulations to all of our artists. Again, don't forget that you need to go ahead and email share@simplyclassic.net in the next 30 days to let us know what pattern you would like, and we will get it out to you. Okay, so after our Q&A, we are going to go ahead and pick our winners, but let's go ahead and see what questions we have. And before we get started, I do want to say that we had a really good question that was emailed into me. It was emailed in from Carol, and she said, "Hi, Chris. I just finished the banded bag class with you and loved it. I would like to make more handbags from leather, but I really struggle with my machine." She has a Juki TL2010Q. It's basically a semi-industrial straight stitch machine. She said, "I'm considering investing in an industrial machine. I would like to find one that has a free arm," which I'm assuming is a cylinder arm. And she said that would just be so handy in bag making, which of course it is, because you can sew in the round to get that top stitching done. She says she's not sure expensive how that particular feature would make the machine, but she wanted to know if there's any places to find refurbished machines. She's retired and she just wants to sew as a hobby. So this is a great question, and I actually get this question quite a bit. You know, what kind of machines do you use? What kind of machines should I get? So I have, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen, I actually have three main machines I use. One is my newest machine, which is my Burnett B08 is what they call it. It is a straight stitch machine. It is a domestic machine, but I swear it's like an industrial practically. I mean, it is amazing what that thing can get through. So it is a great option if you don't have enough space for a machine, a big industrial machine. The price point's really pretty good, a couple $1,000s, and it will sew on lightweight material as well as heavier stuff. The other machine I have, and it's kind of my main machine, is a Conchos 206 RB5 machine. It's my flatbed that you see me use a lot. And I've had that machine for about 20 years. I actually bought it years ago when I was making window treatments and bed skirts and things like that. And it's really transitioned into bag making for me. Fantastic. So I've learned how to kind of service it because there's nowhere around me that services industrial machines. And it's a great machine. Again, 20 years, and here I am still going strong with it. Now, from my understanding, the Conchos are now made, they used to be made not in China, but now they are. And I'm not sure. I think it's changed a little bit. So you might want to just do a little bit of research if you're looking into that Conchos. And then the last machine I have is a cylinder R machine. It is my Texo 2750 Pro. Love that machine. If I had to do it all over again, I would probably buy a cylinder R machine with a flatbed attachment instead of having two industrials. But I just can't give up my 20-year-old Conchos because I've had it forever. But the Texo Pro 2750 Pro was a great machine because it has a lot of features. It had a drop-down sew guide. It has a needle position down. It came with a flatbed table. It has a laser light. I mean, it's got a lot of really cool things. So if you're interested in any kind of industrial machine, shop around, see what is around you, and do some shopping online. The other thing I would say is make sure you get an industrial machine with a walking foot. Okay, so a compound walking foot. That's going to be the main thing that you need for bag making. Okay. So let's see. Robin also asked, she said, tell us about your rivet press tool, please. Sure, I'd love to. Okay, so this is something I am testing out. We're going to go to the overhead. And, you know, I'm always looking for new things. This is something fairly new. And we think we're going to start carrying it, and we're going to have a signature color, a signature Simply Classic color. This one's obviously purple, but ours is going to be a little bit different. It is called the Vario tool, and they're really big in Europe. And I was graciously sent one to try out, to test. And what I love about it is that, and I don't have all the parts and pieces here, but basically you have got little components or little drawers that they give you that you can put all of your presses in. It comes with a hole punch as well as rivets. It can do grommets. It can do all kinds of things. And what I like about it is it's really lightweight. I mean, you can see I'm holding it up here compared to the huge rivet presses that we use now that are so heavy. So if I need to go somewhere, you know, teach a class, I can throw this in a suitcase, and all you do, and of course I don't have this in yet, but all you do is you just push this handle down and it sets your rivet. And I love that you have a spot to put your fingers here. So again, it's called the Vario tool. Big in Europe. Hopefully we'll start carrying them shortly, and we'll have a signature color, and we'll be selling these with all of the cool attachments. Okay, Mary says, hi, is the cap of the rivet considered the right side? I actually considered the cap as the wrong side, but I don't know that there's a right and wrong way there. If anybody else has any suggestions on that, go ahead and type it in the comments. I like to usually put the post part through from the right side to the back, and then I put my cap on the back, and then I set it. But again, since they're double capped, I don't really think it's that big of a difference. Don't really think it matters. That's a really great question. Okay, Denny says, I have a Sailrite fabricator, and I recently bought a Burnett 08. All right. And I love it. Great. I'm going to sell my fabricator. The Burnett is giving me a great stitch. You know, the Burnett is amazing, isn't it? I really was blown away when I tried it out. I literally, and I'll have to do a video on this, but I'll have to show you the stitch on the Burnett using a Tex 45 thread. And I stitched on my Conchos using a Tex 70 thread. Same color, you know, same faux. Put them next to each other. You can't tell the difference. I mean, it is amazing. So that is fantastic. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Okay. You ready to give some baskets away? We're going to see who has won. So we are going to, like I said, I've got plenty of things here. We could put it in a bag. And let's do that. Let's put this in a bag and draw our winners. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to stick them all in. All right, we got a cool sienna here. And again, you do not need to be present to win these, but let's see who won. 3 baskets. Okay. So our first winner is Linda Woods. So Linda Woods, you are getting a basket from us, and we will go ahead and email you your tracking number. You should be getting it sometime probably next week. All right, let's see who else we have. Lynette Likens. Congratulations, Lynette. You have won one of our baskets. So we are super excited. We're going to make sure we keep your name right there, and we will get that out to you tomorrow. Should have it next week. Okay, and the last winner is, let's see, Trixie Myers. So congratulations, Trixie. You have won the third basket. I'll tell you what, I have to just give a shout out right now to Taylor, because I am literally picking these names live, and she is spelling them right and getting them on the screen that quick.
I don't know if they're spelled right, actually. Sorry.
They are? Fantastic. She did a great job. All right, so congratulations, Linda and Lynette and Trixie. You are going to be receiving a big box. I say basket, but it's really a box. We're going to kind of stick everything in that box and get it out to you. You should get it sometime this week. We'll send you your tracking numbers. And if there are no other questions, we will call it a wrap. So we will see you next Thursday, which is February 13th. We're going to talk about quilted bags, which is why we're really going to focus on Chanel. So until next week, everybody, happy sewing.